Going to be doing my favorite meditation class tonight, the question and answer. Generally speaking, the first Thursday of each month is going to be question and answer. And as a reminder, these are my answers. These are not the answer. None of the stuff I'm going to say, well, very little of it, I'm sure, has been written down in stone or in blood anywhere. This is we're on the back. Yeah. This is going to be my best answer from my experience that I have. And when you ask me a question, please don't ask me why I'm wearing white pants, because we just did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the last class, and you might see me wearing white pants from now on in this class, because we're not going to have time to change the regular color pants. When you ask your question, make it quick, make it to the point, loud, and don't worry about asking the perfect question. Don't worry about the way that it looks or sounds. Just don't swear and ask me something that I can talk about meditation, something related to our practice with. So if you're at home on the Facebook or Instagram, you can type it to us. And if you are on Zoom, you can press the button to raise your hand. I'm going to start off with Beatrice. You've got one already to go. Go ahead, Beatrice.
Like what? How do you manage like when you're like really, really busy and then you finally find time to decompress and then, slow down, and then you do a lot of meditation, do a lot of Tai Chi, and then suddenly you feel like completely unmotivated to go back to work?
Okay, you were being run ragged, you were stressed and busy, and you finally get a chance to relax, to meditate, to do Tai Chi, and now you know you got to get back to work, but you have no motivation to do it. What do you do with that? I'm sure some of you are hoping that I say something like, well, I guess it sounds like you better not meditate, you better not practice. No, you know you got to do that. It's interesting. So I'll start at least, and this might be where I end, depending on how long I rant on this for, but I think that motivation should just be taken out of the equation. I don't like motivation because motivation is fleeting, as you're describing. I don't necessarily think that it is because you have gotten yourself nice and calm and peaceful that you have no motivation. I think it's more like this is pointing to the huge discrepancy in mental states and stress between when you were just running around like crazy before and now that you're nice and relaxed and calm, you're like, I want to keep this. I don't want to go back to that. But let's just pretend that that's not even happening. Just motivation, pure and simple, no matter what the situation is. Motivation is really nice when you have it. And when you don't have it, it is a real problem if you need motivation to do anything. So if you're attached to having motivation and you're feeling you just don't have it today, you're like, it's not the day. I know I should go back to work, but I just don't feel like it. Well, Beatrice, if you only do what you feel like doing, nothing is going to get done for you or in the world. So cutting motivation out of it is key. And being in your relaxed meditative state is going to be great for that, because it is going to connect you directly to what's going on in your mind. And it's going to help you to recognize what's real and what's not real. So motivation on some level is not real. Motivation is a nice thing to have, but it's not necessary, and it is basically just a thought or a feeling. What's real is I decided I was going to do this thing. I gave my word to do it, and so now I'm going to do it. And if we can take away the space between what I said I was going to do and what I actually do, if those become the same thing, oh my goodness, you are going to rule the world. There is nothing that you will not accomplish, because this is the biggest problem for people. Of course, there will be times in your life where you recognize, I said I was going to do this thing, but I know it's bad for me and I shouldn't do this anymore. Okay, if you need to quit your job, quit your job. But if it's just like a fleeting feeling, I don't feel like it right now, just forget about it. Forget about the feeling. And just do what you said you were going to do when you were in a great kind of state and you decided, this is my job and I'm going to do it. So then you just do it. And you should be able to, on some level, at least find some motivation just from doing the thing that you said that you were going to do. And if not, you'll find it the next day, or just, again, don't worry about having motivation at all. Anybody here have a question? Tim.
Sir, I was thinking the other day about how we talk about like unlearning, like kind of like instinctual reflexes of like punching.
Mm-hmm. Somebody goes to punch and you go like this, and that's your instinct, and we got to unlearn that.
Right, and instead we're trying to learn like techniques of like safe stuff. So I'm just thinking, I was curious about your thoughts on like what that says about us. It seems like, why are we not born with these things?
Why are we not born sidestepping and pivoting out of the way of punches?
Yeah, just like generally to better protect ourselves. Like why are we born with this?
Yeah, I mean, okay, I'm going to do my best here, Tim, and I'm sure I could find something to talk about here for an hour or two, but my understanding from the small amount of studying that I've done on this is that the instinct that we have built in through evolution is useful for us, and doing this is better than just staring at the punch or getting your eyes gouged out. The thing that we talk about all the time in class besides that is I'm going to fall, and instead of just posting my hand on the ground, we try to slap out and keep the wrist safe. But if you didn't have this instinct and you just fall and knock yourself out because your head hits the ground, that's even worse, right? So I think it's a matter of the amount of information that you can fit in, or the priorities that your DNA, your genes have. You can't put Kung Fu Master into everybody's genes from the beginning. So what do I think that says about us? Like all creatures, we have a balance to create the best efficiency. We have to have enough to keep us alive, but also enough to give us all the rest of it. We got to have room to have the instinct to go find food and to go do whatever else we need to do to push our species going forward. Now, I say that, and then it's like, well, look at the cat, the common house cat. If we had the instinct and reflexes of a house cat, we would just, like, if just one person had those, they would be the most powerful, like, fighter on the planet. It would be incredible to have the physical ability and the quick reflex and all that stuff. Why can't we just get what the cat has? Well, the cat is also not like doing math and building rockets to go to Mars and all that stuff. So there's a balance there. So that's where we're at with it. We are physically built really well for a couple of things, and I think most of our energy goes to what's going on up here, so that we can tame the animals that would be killing us in the jungle otherwise. Let's go to Frida. You're muted. It's not my fault this time, it's your fault. Still muted. I see the mouth moving and nothing's coming out, Frida.
Okay, can you hear me?
There we go.
Sorry about that. In regards to what's been happening around the world, the war in the Ukraine, it's really hard to get away from it, whether you see it on a headline on the internet or when you turn on the television. What advice do you have to someone who is starts to become very emotionally affected by the current events, and how do you suggest you handle that, but at the same time still not shut yourself off completely to current events, but be aware of what's happening, but not let it get to you in an emotionally negative way?
All right, I've got a decent answer for you that is going to be fairly simple. It's going to be kind of a 2-for-1 here, Frida. So I, like most of you, have heard about what's going on in Ukraine and have seen videos and picture, and it's terrifying on several levels. Terrible for the people that are going through it, and also terrifying for, I think, the entire world, because not to add anything onto your stress plate for you, but it seems like every time we start to mess around with Russia, we get a little bit closer to the whole world blowing up. And I think that there are lots of reasons why this could be very stressful and have a negative impact on your emotional state. So you're talking about, first of all, like I'm watching the news, and of course, on some level, what you can do is get a better balance with what's going in. So garbage in, garbage out, stress in, stress out. If you're taking in constant feed of negative news, what's going on in the world, or negative news, what's going on in your own life, or whatever, that is what you're going to have in your mind all the time. So on some very basic level and a very powerful level, we want to recognize that what we can do is just shut off the TV after a certain point. And it's going to have to be up to you what the balance is for that. I personally like to listen to the news in the morning, and it's like a little bit of NPR or something that doesn't have too much of a slant, and then like I know what's going on, and then I go through my day rather than going back and checking on it multiple times. It's not always the way that I was. There were some things going on in recent times where I did find myself glued to the TV like all day, being bombarded by and choosing kind of to bombard myself with all that negativity. And at some point you have to decide, I want to create this environment for myself that is empowering, not overly stressful, but also I'm not putting my head in the sand and pretending that nothing bad is happening. So I think a good way to go about it is to limit what you're taking in to the point where you know what's going on. I think if you can have an educated conversation with somebody else that also knows what's happening in the news, that should be a good like low bar to set. If somebody starts saying Ukraine and you're like, what's that? Then you probably need to read more, take in a little bit more news. And after that point, it can probably start to have like steeply go down into a rate of diminishing returns where now you're just like in a stress spiral. So what do you do to stay, to kind of stay connected, but have it be in a way that is empowering or that does have a positive slant to it? I think that it is important for us all to take on whatever responsibility we can. And whether that be, I had a student the other day ask me about, can we do another class where we benefit? We've done benefit classes in the past. Can we do a class where we benefit the people in Ukraine and send humanitarian aid or something like that? We'll see. That's a possibility. But even just asking, having that conversation is something. There's a great simple story of somebody walking down the beach, and he sees somebody out in the distance bending down to the sand, picking something up and throwing it in the water, and then walking another foot, pick something up, throw it in the water. And as he gets closer, he sees this woman is tossing in, the whole beach is covered with sea stars. What are they called? No, not sand dollars. Is it a sea star? Boy, for some reason that sounds really weird in my brain right now. Starfish, thank you. Sea stars, starfish. Sea stars, not like the people who you are related to, who are your sisters, but starfish. Picking up a starfish and tossing it in the water. And there are a million starfish blanketing the beach. And so this man asked the woman, what are you doing? You can't possibly expect to make a difference here. There are a million starfish out here. And she leans down, picks up another one, tosses it in the water, and says, I made a difference to that one. And it can seem very overwhelming, like voting, like recycling. Like, what difference is this really going to make? But if we all have that attitude, of course, all the sea stars die, they dry up, and the world explodes. So whatever that small thing that we can do is, do it. Do enough research to understand what's going on. Do enough research to figure out something that is actually going to be impactful in some positive way. And it doesn't mean that you have to run for president. It doesn't mean that you have to, change the world on a grand scale, just on a small scale. And tell somebody about what you're doing, not from a bragging perspective, just like the next time it comes up in conversation, say, yep, it sucks out there, and I'm trying to do my small part to do it. This is what I'm doing. And then it'll kind of spread the idea around to other people as well. That'll help at least get a little bit of momentum going. Good luck. Other question? Joy.
Sorry, this is also a question about motivation. I think you mentioned last time that one of the first black sashes saw the red sash test and was so discouraged that almost quit.
Mm-hmm.
But then obviously,
Yeah, Dr. Ushar Natchez tried to quit. He saw a red sash test and he was like, I'm out. That looks so dangerous and painful. I cannot imagine a future where I can do that. Go ahead.
but so the question is, how did he make it put his foot on to get a black sash?
Oh, yeah, this is a short answer. He told Sifu Brown, and Sifu Brown said, you're not quitting. He's like, no, you're not quitting after that. And look, this is, if you have the resource of somebody in your life who is going to motivate you in the right way, lean on that person when you need it. And you might have somebody in your life that will surprise you to be that person for you. But they say you are like the average of the 3 people that you spend the most time with, something like that. And if the 3 people you spend the most time with, I know you got kids, but they're great. They're great kids. If you're spending a lot of time with people who kind of suck, who don't have motivation, who are like, I have a thing that I want to say, but I don't want to offend anybody, so I'm not going to say it. I have a specific person that I'm thinking of that is, I'll tell them this later on in private. But basically, if you've got people who you can keep in your life and then go to with something like this, I assume you're not thinking about quitting practice here, but you'll have, yeah, it was that. It was like, here's somebody who I trust their opinion, and they are kind of motivating and inspiring to me. And so he told them to keep going. Now, even that wouldn't have been enough, because that was years and years before he took his own black sash test. So there's a whole lot that goes into that. But again, motivation, this is kind of the other side of the flip side of what I was saying before. Again, motivation is nice, and you can certainly create motivation for yourself by keeping those kinds of people in your life, by what you are consuming. If you're reading a book that's depressing, you're going to be depressed. If you're watching a movie that's really inspiring, it's going to inspire you and motivate you. And at the end of the day, it is really just going to come down to what you're surrounding yourself with and the kinds of information that you're taking in. But it is so easy to surround yourself with people who really kind of, you get into this echo chamber, and this is what is wrong with the whole world right now, is like the internet is all about this. The algorithms on Facebook and whatever else is ruining the world, YouTube. It's like you only get fed back the same kinds of stuff that you already think, and it amplifies it. And so I won't name the person that I'm thinking of, but there is somebody who's very close to me in my life who has sisters. And when one of them complains, the other one's like, yeah, F that person. They're terrible. And they're like, that's right, I should be pissed off. And it goes like this. And it's like, it takes about 1 minute for this whole thing to escalate to a point where it is getting dangerous. And I'm getting stressed out just listening to this conversation. So it's like, if you know that you have a tendency to kind of be that way, at least have a couple of good people that have strong personalities that are not going to rile you up in the wrong way, or are not going to kind of drag you further down into the dumps. and surround yourself with media and take in other information that is going to take you in the direction that you want to go. And it is tough because when you're feeling a certain way, you have a tendency to think, I deserve to feel this way. And you kind of seek out more information that confirms what you already know, because that feels great to us as human beings. When we feel like crap and somebody else says, yeah, the world is crap, you're like, yes, I knew it. We want people around us who are going to make us think twice and who are going to help us second guess our more negative, less helpful tendencies. Other question? Nothing. Go, Aaron.
Sir, what would you say would be the best way to deal with fear that arises when you're trying to break out of a stagnant period in life?
You're in the rut.
Yeah.
And you are afraid of getting out of the rut. You're afraid of breaking through your limitations or breaking out of your habits, your patterns. You want to know the best way of dealing with the fear? I'll go in this direction. There's a great student back in Michigan who's also a Black Sash. Not everyone I talk about is a Black Sash, but Jeremiah Savage is awesome, and he just is like a real like character out of a movie, and I don't even know what movie it would be, but he's the kind of person that goes out in Michigan in the winter and cuts a hole in the ice and gets in the water. You guys have met Jeremiah Savage. He's basically a psychopath, and he does this. And when he did his Black Sash meditation talk, or his paper for it, I can't remember what it was, he was talking about this concept of kind of seeking that discomfort, look for it and embrace it. And I will say he even got me to do like 1% of what he does. I took a couple of cold showers and I got in the ocean here in February when it was way too cold for me, but it was not ice. In any case, I really liked this idea. Came back and I really made a conscious effort for the next couple of months to seek the discomfort, because it's good for us in lots of ways. It's actually like healthy for us physically and with our nervous system to have that like shock of cold. And there's all kinds of research out there for this. There's Wim Hof, the Iceman. It has like a whole religion based around this idea. So look it up if you haven't yet. But just the basic idea of seeking out discomfort and not even like dealing with it, but it's like, I feel good when I am uncomfortable, because I know, at least on a deep level, I know that this is helping me push to become a better version of myself. This is making me grow. Another Black Sash, Rudy Jacobson, with his paper, was talking about how everything fights. And he talked about like a flower growing up through the concrete, just fighting to survive. And this is what we have to do to grow. We have to fight, and it doesn't have to be a physical altercation. We have to fight against something. We need resistance. You go to the gym, you lift weights, or you're in class and you push yourself hard to grow, to become stronger and better. So a very simple way to do this, Aaron, is just to love it, to love being uncomfortable, to seek it out, to remember that this is the very thing that's going to cause you to be stronger. This is the very thing that's going to cause you to grow. And nobody accomplished anything worthwhile without that fight, without that resistance. And it can look like so many different things. But when you're in the rut, the analogy I like to use is you're in your rut, and it's like you're literally in a wagon going down the dirt path, and your wheels naturally kind of seek that rut that you've worn. Every day you go down the same path and your wheels wear this rut through into the ground, and pretty soon your rut is like so deep that your wheels can't get out of it. It's literally the only way that you can go. And in order to break out of that, I'm sure now that I'm saying this analogy, I'm sure there are better ways to do it. You could like just start off before you even get on that path. Just turn your cart somewhere else. That's a talk for a different night. What I'm going to talk about tonight is, you know, you're in the rut already. So how are you going to get out of it? You turn hard. I guess this is a steering wheel. If your wagon has a steering wheel, you turn hard, or you go yeah with your horse and get it to pull your wagon hard in the other direction, right? To go from where you're really comfortable to getting out of that rut, it's going to take a real kind of push and some force. And you might get that from, you know, motivation from somebody else. You might get that from hitting rock bottom and saying, I've got to go in a different direction. There's this idea they talk about, I believe this is a concept in AA as well, where hitting rock bottom is like a J curve. You're going this way and you hit rock bottom, but instead of stopping and just crashing into the ground, you go like this and you rebound up and you get kind of energy from that. So try to create that for yourself. When you're in a rut, it is comfortable. And back to your first question, or the second question I think I had about kind of evolution and like survival. This is why we get comfortable doing the same things over and over again. It's because we are hardwired, like all animals, to do what we've done in the past that has allowed us to survive. And this is where we get stuck on surviving rather than thriving. So what we have to do is be okay with getting out of what is comfortable and what is normal and what we've, you know, been used to, because this is as good as it's ever going to get. In order to get better, you got to break free, you know, get out of the rut, get onto a different path, and it's going to take something to get there. So just, I think, reminding yourself that being uncomfortable is a good thing, and practice it maybe with smaller things, like taking a cold shower. I'd be lying if I said I did this on a regular basis, but I have taken a cold shower in the past, and it sucks. But also, then getting in the ocean is not so bad because you are kind of used to it. When you're used to being uncomfortable, then it is not such a big step to do it the next time. And when you break through your limitations in one place in life, maybe it's in the dojo. You're pushing yourself in class past that discomfort, and you have proven to yourself that you can do it. Then it is not so hard in other places. So start small if you need to, Aaron. And if it's something that you're really in a rut, it's going to take something big to jolt you out of it. So find what that is and do it. The longer you wait, the harder it's going to be. So yeah, I'll keep reminding you about this, and I want you to tell me when you've gotten out of your rut. And I will, if you say you're still doing the same thing, I'm going to shake my head in shame for you. So if that helps you, great. We have no time for other questions. And in meditation tonight, we didn't really talk that much about the mechanics of meditation or anything else. I'll go over the basic way to sit and all of that. But remember, when you're talking about being uncomfortable, meditation is great at helping us deal with that. Because first of all, you will literally be uncomfortable physically, just sitting still for a while. So this is a great training for that. It is great to help you clear your mind when you have all that negativity building up from watching the news or just living life. This is an opportunity to recognize those thoughts and let them go immediately, not pushing them out, because the force or the resistance is what causes it to kind of persist. So you just let it go. And in our meditation tonight, maybe you will find that very calm state, Beatrice, that's going to make you feel like, I want to just be like this forever and never work again. Or maybe you'll feel a hint of that. Whatever you get out of tonight, try to take it out into everyday life. with an increased focus and ability to be calm, but also just kind of right now when you leave class tonight, try to take that calm state a little bit further out, and further out like in your physical bubble. Take it into your car, take it all the way home, and try to maintain this kind of peacefulness for as long as you can, because the world needs it right now. Sit comfortably. If you guys on Zoom want to stay with us, you can. Can you take these, please, ma'am? So I sit in Seiza, but you can sit cross-legged if you want to. You can sit however you can with your spine staying straight and your knees even with or below your hips. So if you sit cross-legged and your knees go way up, then you're going to fall asleep. I think you're all good. Your brain will not fall asleep, your legs will fall asleep, and that's going to be painful when they start to wake up. So your hands are here upturned, together or separate is fine, but rolling your shoulders back, keeping your chin parallel to the ground, and try to raise the crown of your head up towards the ceiling to get that really nice, straight, elongated spine. Close your eyes and have them slightly upturned. So a good way to do this is to just visualize in your mind's eye that spot between your eyebrows. And when you have that spot visualized, your eyes will naturally raise up, not crossing, but just slightly raised. So you're associating with that raised consciousness. From here, relax and watch the breath. Let go of all thoughts, worries, cares. Be here now. When your mind wanders, just bring it gently back to the breath.